Welcome to the podcast Regenerative Future. My name is Chris Hovde, and in each episode, I invite inspiring guests who bring us ideas and a lot of energy and motivation to create an even better future for all of us. That's actually what a regenerative future is all about. In this episode, we have the great pleasure of welcoming Joel and Tom from CoachHub. Tom is the principal behavioral scientist at CoachHub, and Joel is responsible for CoachHub's largest clients in Northern Europe. But the most exciting thing is that they both have been instrumental in the development of their new state-of-the-art leadership coach, Amy, which we will get to know even deeper today, even though we don't have Amy as a guest, maybe next time. So buckle up and let's get into how AI can be a part of the solution to create a better world, but first and foremost, improve leadership at scale. Welcome to the podcast, Joel and Tom. It's a pleasure to finally have you here.
Thank you. It's fun to be here. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And it's not every day we got two guests at the same time. So double the value, double the trouble, I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. But let's start as we always do. For those of you or the listeners who don't know you that well, and also into the topic, made you, Joel, and first really get into kind of the powerful art of coaching, and I need to work with it. I need to get it out to large clients across Europe and really have a fire for bringing that out to people. And now with Amy.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. I mean, if you look back at my background, I've been in SaaS sales for 10 plus years and spent a majority of that within HR. And I think it was actually through a personal journey that I went through when it came to therapy, actually, where I started to really kind of understand the power of changing your mindset and obviously the scientifics that goes when it comes to actually therapy. And then when I had completed, it was a cognitive therapy program or whatever you call it, I then looked at okay, I'm not a finished product, so what else can I do? And that's when I got into coaching. And I love the fact that when I looked at because psychotherapy is a lot of looking, what has happened in the past in order to understand how I am today, whereas coaching is more looking, where am I today? Where do I want to go? And what do I need to do in order to get to that place? So it was, for me, it was just a very kind of eye-opening way of understanding myself in a completely different way. And the types of question that the coach was asking me, I always came out of the session feeling like, wow, I've always had this within me, and I know the tools that I am to use, but it was the questions that the coach asked me that helped me get to it. So
that's awesome. And I can hear the fire already there. So I almost regret I started to ask about where does the fire come from. But let's also first, and we will talk much more about that, but bring Tom into the table. Where does this fire start from you? And keep a bit shorter fire at the moment, and then we start to play the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it was a bit different than you. I came out from the university many years ago now, and I realized going into, a professional life in organization, I realized not that many theories, scientific facts and figures are actually used out there. So I became very passionate about evidence-based methods, data-driven methods in organizations, and that's how it started. And then I went through a journey of working in areas like people analytics and different people development projects, and I realized that coaching is one of those evidence-based tools that I think is amazing for organizations, but it's so underutilized today. So that's why I wanted to work with spreading it more and making it more scalable.
That's amazing, and what a powerful duo! Like the burning fire and somebody who keeps the evidence in check. I would need one like you, Tom, also in my team. So that's great to see that you have each other as well. But from the fire and the passion and what I experience in my career, usually for the selected few, because coaching is quite of a high price point, or some people also pay it from their own pockets. But usually the stronger, longer programs is for executives, or traditionally have been. And we see a large democratization in that because we can also do it at scale and on all levels. AI, I think, kind of pushes that almost everybody can access everything from anywhere as long as they have an internet connection. Can't you tell us a bit about the idea behind Amy and what is the value we can get out of coaching adding AI?
Yeah, no, I think I can start with it. I think where it all came from, especially from if you look at us as an organization, it was that, as you said, we're targeting very much a senior portion of organizations globally today. And we kind of done the first step of kind of democratizing coaching by making it digital. So that was kind of okay, making it much more available within organizations where we can look at measurements, tricks, action. But then the next step was, as you said, is that there are limitations when it comes to budgets, right? In terms of how much money can we spend. And there's a lot of people within organizations that never get to access the power of coaching due to that fact. So that was kind of the basis of why we created it, to say, how can we get the power of coaching out there, taking in consideration of how can we make a solution that is much more cost effective and even more scalable. Then AI came into play, and I think specifically, Tom, you can go into this, but then we designed this AI, but on the basis of coaching science and research. And I think you, Tom, can add a bit more context into
And
the
just to
building.
play a bridge there, I think that's also what grasped my interest in kind of Amy and also coming from a trusted provider as CoachHub, which I worked with both in Telia and Aker, and seeing kind of it's already standardized. You have the trust, you are certified according to international standards, you have the research and the science in place, which gives a say in my professional leadership development eyes much more credibility and also solving a lot of the ethical issues that I might think about because I trust you and believe you have control over that. So I think that's a really competitive advantage. But yeah, Tom, I would like to hear what's the evidence base and how is Amy maybe constructed and what's the thought behind and the value we can get out of that?
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago, the research started on AI coaches, and it came initially from research that they did on more in therapeutic settings, so therapeutic bots and other types of conversational agents, and what makes those engaging, and very broadly, how does that communication or dialogue function? And then this quite small niche area came out, AI coaching. We have now today a couple of studies that are out there, but I think it's still very early days. We do see some indications that it's can be very helpful for helping people and leaders to more easily reach their goals. So goal attainment is a big thing, setting goals and reaching goals and being able to making sure that you're on track with that. So that's one of the core studies that has come out now. I mean, what we see there is also that a question when you build these things is what type of methods should we use? What theories do we want to incorporate? There is so much out there, and and that goes for coaching also in general. When we take away the AI part, right? There's so many methods out there, and there's so many perspectives about what it is. So I think one thing that has been very important for us is to stay on the side of, at least for now, what is coaching? How does that process look, and how do we facilitate self-reflection and enabling the person themselves to come up with those insights? So we've had collaborations with scientists that are working in the areas, and also with International Coaching Federation. We've had a bit of input, and we have an innovation lab. So it's a process of like selecting the right theories, testing it, and reviewing it. And we're still working on it. It's continuously evolving, and I think it always will be. Actually.
Yeah, and I think that's I've tested so many both agents and Chat GPT or whatever, and from design to videos to speech to text and executive assistant and even by voice and calling and booking restaurants and so on. I think the ones I see that I continue to use are those who are so specialized and kind of really, really strong in what they do. I have a favorite slide designer app, for example. I can't stop use it. It's like amazing. But I also tested 11 others that tried to be all over the place and are really immature. So I like that you're kind of sticking and staying true to your own core. and then making a narrow thing that's kind of an extension of what you're already quite strong at and known for. We talk a lot about as kind of a AI and coaching as a self-understood thing from anybody, but if you kind of, when you're out, you're explaining customers that maybe don't have so much experience with coaching, or explaining kind of for a 4-year-old what's Amy and how can people start to use AI or get in contact with you and kind of test it out and so on to get the benefit of this?
I mean, I think the conversation always starts when it comes to the coaching itself, right? And the power behind coaching. I would say that it's either that I met with people that haven't experienced it, where sometimes I can feel a bit of resistance regards it. And
Mhm.
we hear a lot about, okay, what's the KPIs? They want very black and white. And sometimes that's the case, and we can, work with them and, obviously show them the power of it. But I think the power of it is the individualization, right?
Mm.
I think the coaching is, no matter if it's human or with AI, it's one-on-one, and it's the person that is picking what the subject is, what they would like to talk about, and then digging into it. So people want to be the best version of themselves. I think everyone wants to be that. I want to be able to produce as much as I can and do the best I can in my role. And coaching then kind of touches on that to make sure that it's highly personalized. Then if we look more on the AI side, then I think what really touches a interest with the clients, I think the first needs to be the understanding of the coaching and the belief in the coaching and the power of coaching.
Mm.
But then it comes with the scalability, right? Because that's what, at least what we're seeing now, is looking at highly specific cases of, for example, leaders or its managers or its first time managers, and also customizing the AI to fit that specific audience. And what they're seeing then is, okay, this is a fantastic tool, completely unbiased, non judgmental, where people can get support whenever they want to by using the science. So I think especially the scalability, but also not taken away from the fact that currently AI in general right now is a very hot topic. Everything that has AI in front of it
As
is
long
like,
as you add AI to it, yeah. But you talk so much about the power of coaching, and I'm
yeah.
going to switch to you, Tom. If you're going to just share something also personal, what's the one kind of concrete story where coaching made the difference for you, Tom?
I have a very concrete example, I think, and it was actually started about 2.5 years ago when I started working at CoachHub. Actually, in my role as a behavioral scientist, you are sometimes finding yourself in situations like this one, where you're supposed to speak in front of a lot of people in a podcast or in a webinar or in a conference as a keynote, and I was not very used to that from before. I did it in several, more formal settings, but not like doing an inspiring keynote, for example. So that for me was something that was very new, and I was quite nervous about it. So then I was able to work with my coach to go through these. What are these thoughts that are coming up? Why am I getting these reactions, and why am I so nervous? So both on the practical side, how do I actually prepare in the best way possible, but also going through these kinds of perhaps sometimes limiting beliefs that you have about yourself, or the fear of not seeming smart to other people,
Absolutely.
things like that.
What was your main limiting belief then?
I don't That's a good question. I don't know if I found a specific limiting belief, but I did find a fear, I have to say, of people not perceiving me as clever or smart, or that I could make mistakes when I talk, and that should be okay. But so I was
It should
afraid
be
of that.
okay. Many people can probably relate to that, me
Mm.
included. So thank you so much for sharing. And what's your then most profound experience or revelation in personal coaching?
so for me, it was kind of similar, but I think for me, it was going back to stress for me. And I was dealing with quite a lot of stress, which I identified something that I have been doing kind of my full career. And we, together with the coach, we managed to identify, the high performer within me, and the voice. We managed to identify the voice that was motivating me. And my coach asked me the question of asked me, how do you motivate yourself? How do you talk to yourself? And we figured out that voice was pretty nasty. It was, the way that I spoke to myself, I would never speak to anyone else in that, in that way. So what we identified was my coach asked me a question that I still think to of this day is saying, this is the way that you have motivated yourself your whole life, which has also gotten you to this point, but you don't know if another way of talking to yourself can get you to the same result or even better. So that kind of helped me shift also the way that how do I motivate myself? How do I talk to myself? And then methods of, speaking more nicely to me and also being okay to say you're good enough. And that has helped
That's
me,
powerful. Yeah.
but really powerful stuff. So something I didn't, when we had that session, I was kind of, it was a heavy one, but
Yeah, I
still,
understand that. And I'm working with a mental trainer at the
yeah,
moment, which is also kind of, we're tapping into that as well. And I can relate totally. I would never, I would fight other people who would talk to my friends like I'm talking to, like it
yeah.
should be illegal. But then it's also something kind of, as you said, I think it's so profound and many will probably relate to that. We're so used to that, and also we have achieved so much with it that I also find it's a bit fear of, but if I become too nice and soft, will I actually have that kind of stress or push to actually achieve so much and kind of get that success? So to just get that final thought from you on that, starting to speak nicer to yourself, is that still kind of giving you the performance, the ambition, the success? You can't say no because you're
I mean,
in CoachHub, but
yeah. No, but I mean, it's been periods. It's definitely something I still struggle with at times, but I'm much
mm,
better at identifying. But I would say, if anything, my performance has been better because I've been better at turning off at the end of the day,
mm,
telling myself, I'm okay with what I put in, and also finding ways to identify that, what is it based off of? Is it your own performance metrics, or is it just based off people around you in general? So I would
mm,
say yes,
mm.
but it's still a fight that I kind of go back to from time to time because it's my safe place of dealing with performing. But I was going to ask you actually, Chris, because I mean, you've been in leadership and working with development within major corporations
Mm.
in Norway and the Nordics. But you touched a bit on your own personal experience with coaching. But do you remember when you first experienced coaching?
Yes, I have many memories of that. To me, maybe one of the most profound experiences has been when we had the Oxford self-managing leadership program. We did the live version, and there were also coaches that were then approaching each individual. As I know, you also have learning material thing you can stimulate your intellectual brain with, but then also making that stick even harder by coaching and tailoring and getting the core essence of where the maybe hinder, the strength, whatever, is in you. I saw that brought the true power out of being in a group setting and being in a leadership program. Everybody wants to be seen on the individual level. Everybody has different problems or things they want to work with exactly here and now. So the best of the group, but also the best for the individual. And I think that's a powerful combination. And to be practical and personal, I think at that point of time, it ended up in a 90-day action plan for what I wanted to do with my life. And I remember I became a vegan for 4 years. I stopped flying. I broke out of a toxic relationship. And you could
Wow.
probably hear that I have ADHD. So I went all in. But
Yes.
like major life decisions and also career from CEO, thoughting that I wanted status, money, and position and whatever, to more like I want to be a guide facilitator, supporting role, HR, using my leadership experience, but also reach out to the masses. So for me, that was life transforming
Amazing.
episode.
Kind of listening to, okay, what do I really want? And kind of
Yeah.
listening to that inner voice of like
And
asking those.
pushing hard enough, I think also that's, and yes, the right questions, but like a coach also, and I have used AI a lot now as a therapist when I almost didn't want to live anymore. And what I see is it continues to talk forever. And when you're really in a bad place, or if you need to talk to someone, yes, it's good with that psychologist or that therapist or coach 1 hour a week. But you also need it maybe in the morning when you wake up a bit grumpy, or kind of after lunch when you had a meeting with a colleague that was really annoying, or made you feel small. Or like my boyfriend, I think he would be in a totally a much worse place if I had given him all I needed as a conversation when I was really mentally ill. But I gave him as much as I could see that he now is getting enough. And then I continued to talk with AI for 6 hours. So I think in combination, technology, AI, and humans is the perfect combination of all.
Yeah, no, and I think that's interesting going into AI. How long time did it take for you to get used to from a human therapist? If we talk about the difference from human to AI, was that like a big switch, or did it take a lot of time? Or
no, it didn't take a lot of time. It's actually funny. My therapist said quite early, one of them, I've tried many, said like, Chris, you should never talk to a therapist again because Chat GPT can bring you much more value than any human being can. But I think she's partly right. I would say I also see the limitations after talking with ChatGPT for way too many hours that I won't even count. I also see the limitations, and I also get really annoyed because it forgets, hallucinates, repeat itself, do a bit of like basic bitch bullshit. So I think it's a good compliment. Then it has limitations yet, like maybe not in the future. And then the humans I then interact with, or as I said, I talk to a mental coach now, is kind of then on a really high level. And I pay way too much and it's way too expensive, but it also heightens the expectations I have of a human because you need to add something more than the AI. So if you're an average human that can be replaced by AI, I will never pay for you again. So people also need to understand that I need to be really good at something.
yeah.
And combine that with a human touch and whatever humans are good at in such a way that people are finding more value than just talking to AI. Talking to me.
And I
That's
also connect that to what you said before also, Chris, when you were talking about these, also when we were comparing ChatGPT to other more specialized tools. So we can also say there when it comes to these questions and personal development in how well they're able to tackle those topics. I mean, for
Absolutely.
me, it's clear that if you have a whole framework that is centered around people development and you have generative AI go through that, it becomes a lot more powerful. And I was thinking before when you said that, Chris, also, if I am doing research or I want to review research, I can't use ChatGPT for that. It's just going to hallucinate most of the things for me. But there are specialized tools for that gives
really
me
good.
really good responses for that.
What is the tools you use for that then, Tom?
One I've used now is called Licit. So it's quite nice. You can just ask your research question and then it will kind of form a research review for you, only using academic articles and with nice citations and references that you can dive into, in whatever way you want to afterwards. Down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I agree with you. The specialized is more interesting for me. ChatGPT I see more as a kind of a bit more advanced web browser almost that want to kind of cover everything.
I think this is a really interesting point, Chris, that you mentioned that these tools might take away some of the lower level skills or activities that we conduct in coaching, for example. So there are studies, for example, that show that an AI coach, and this is already last year, was able to perform at an ACC level and some PC competency. So you can see that when it comes to being a novice, the AI is very good at actually tackling the structured processes or methods that you're having. But then we're also realizing that there are some things that are very human, that is very good that humans are doing. So now it's turning out to become a bit different application areas. They're good for different things also in a sense.
If we bring back to you're the expert of the customers, Joel, what is some concrete scenarios that Amy could be part of solving and improving for the customers?
There's a couple of cases. I think what we've looked at, especially with clients, first of all, it's like scalability. So how do we reach a mass audience? Then to make it as focused as possible, looking kind of like roles, seniority, sometimes geography as well. Next year, the EU Pay Transparency Act is coming into effect.
Hallelujah.
Exactly. And what we are working on with one client is specifically on having Amy being able to support managers navigating these difficult conversations that they're going to be having to carry out next year. That for a lot of them is completely new. So what in essence is that Amy, what we have done is a very detailed customization of Amy. So we can also plug in, for example, the policies. We can also, from Q1, we can have like the learning library. So we can also put in content that is existing from this organization. But in essence, to give Amy as much as context, whereas managers can then at any point in time go in and start having a conversation about a situation, to discuss it together with the coach, to get to an understanding of the best way to proceed, some tools or different methods to use in the conversations. Also, the role play. This is the situation I'm going into. I want to practice the scenario and see how I'm doing.
Yeah, I was thinking of actually the role play part, because I also think what I've seen in training thousands of leaders globally, I've seen that for some, and usually also especially on lower levels or on more complex conversations or difficult conversations, depending on personality profiles, in a training environment, practicing even on a colleague can be a bit like, I need to perform. So what we did and experimented with was to incorporate the scenario coach or leadership coach in. For example, when you have a feedback session, you introduce the framework and go through the formal learning. Then you practice with your AI by voice, and you can make that as difficult or as easy, or kind of play the scenario out that you want it to be. You can even call it your boss if you want to finally be able to scream at your boss. And then it was much easier to both be a bit more confident, a bit more relaxed, and contribute to better social learning as well, because you got a middle step with technology, which isn't that difficult. And I also find that, back to your question on AI, I almost don't think if it's a person or an AI, but I hear many people say it's easier to open up when you know there's a neutral technology that doesn't have any intentions.
What's interesting is that's what we hear from the testings that we have done, is that that's one of the key aspects. It's like, I really like that it's unbiased and non-judgmental. So they feel that they can go in and talk a bit more openly about a situation. They can talk about cases that they would never talk to a colleague about, and sometimes wouldn't even talk to a coach about. So that, and also the fact that they can do it whenever they feel that it occurs, right? We know that with coaching is we don't have coaching sessions every day. Like you went back to, is like, okay, I had this conversation now. I need to get this out of me. I need to get an understanding, not tomorrow, not in an hour, right fucking now. So that's also the true power of it with AI. I was impressed by how quickly people actually took to it when using it, when we first released it.
Yeah, I don't even think we think about it. But last then question on, because I also hear a lot of listeners thinking, but what about all this sensitive personal data and that I'm sharing and so on? Tom, what do we do to safeguard all that inner darkest secrets when it comes to sharing it with technology?
Well, I think technically I'm the wrong person to ask how it's done, but I think here that we really need to continuously look at the ethics regulations and the frameworks that are put forth that are both European wide, but also for us, of course, it becomes more localized. So we need to be able to adapt to several regions when it comes to this.
From a standpoint of security, we have extremely rigid processes put in place. So it's all of the GDPR compliancy and following also the AIIU European Act as well. Yeah. The security lies behind it is extremely rigid. However, every user, whenever they feel like it, they can always delete their data. So at the click of a button, any user can delete all of their history. So I think for the end user, that is key. So far, we've gone through pretty massive data processes with clients. And at the moment, we're considered as low risk within the AI space.
Yeah. And that's cool. And I can say from my side, to me, it also brings much more trust when you are certified according to the international standards for coaching, and also with your client base. I don't think so many large companies would work with you, including us, former Intel and other employers, if you didn't have the basis in place.
No.
But coming to an end here, because we're three guys that could talk about AI and coaching and personal stuff forever. How does the future look like, maybe both for you, Amy, and AI within the leadership development and coaching space?
Tom, would you like? I know exactly. What are you? Go ahead.
No, exactly.
You have the answer, you will. That's so
I have all the
refreshing.
answers.
Yeah.
No, but from my perspective, at least, and I don't know if that's true.
No, and I think there are several points. I think one thing that I think is very important that I would love to highlight here is this kind of responsibility that we actually have when we're developing AI tools, because the way the tool interacts with you is going to determine how you interact with it. It is the choice architecture, you could also say. So we have a responsibility, and I think this is becoming better and better at developing interfaces with technology and AI tools that protects the freedom of the individual. And I hope that continues, and I hope we get even better at that. For AI coaching, I think there's so many interesting things that can come, because now we have added like situational coaching, goal setting and goal attainment modes, role-playing modes. So there's a lot of different methods, theories and tools that you can put into that. And then I think another point is also the increasing integration of these tools into the flow of work. We talked about it already, right? When you just had that conversation, you're able to immediately use a coach on the side, or maybe you can even use a coach while doing a task in the future. This type of integration into work life.
I love that integration. I just remember we had Copilot in Microsoft Office, and you could get almost like a feedback, which is still a bit immature, but feedback on how you communicate. Do you take too much space? Do you let others talk? Do you ask questions? But not that so advanced. But I love the idea, so it doesn't become an additional thing. I shouldn't say that, because I live of developing people outside their own role. But let's see, maybe I need to be more integrated as well as a human being eventually. What is your answer that you know is right?
Oof.
You will.
No, but I'm just, if we look, no, but
Yeah,
I've thought about the truth. The truth, the only truth. It doesn't sound too Swedish to say that I know the truth and the full truth. It's but anyways, I think that if we look at AI, and also if we look, within the HR industry, the market is flooded. And I think what we're going to see the next 2 years is, a lot of companies applying a lot of AI solutions, and we're going to see a filtering process where we see that once again that the ones who are niched are going to win. There's going to be a few kind of generalists that are going to survive, like Chat GPT, OpenAI, because it's going to come down to, at the end of the day, is what is it actually used for? Does it look good on slides, and does it look good on the internet, or are people actually using it? Same that goes with AI coaching, right? It's like, could be the best solution in the world. Do people use it? Do they feel that they get, usability of it? So I think that's one key thing. Then, as with Amy, in general, what we're doing, and I think specific to us, is the development of the solution is always in collaboration with clients. What we do now is we have a few set of clients that say, we want this, and then we create that type of feature or a solution in the product. Same that, for example, with languages. So instead of adding all of the languages in the world and not ensuring quality, we instead say which languages you need, and we will then create it and then human proof it. So
yeah, that's great.
So that's kind of where we're going.
A great principle. What I think is a good place to land at is actually what you were saying, Joel, and I think Amy is a good example of that. But as an advice to both individuals out there, companies out there, don't go for that ridiculous, let's do everything AI or AI first strategy. I heard it at a big leadership development conference in Norway. Look at your growth strategy that you have, and you should only have one strategy. Remember that. And look at where can AI and specialized AI be part of making you delivering on your strategy. And then only by those maybe 1, 2, 3 specific solutions that will amplify the strategy and the growth path you're already on.
Yeah. Make sure that it's clear on saying, this is what I want to solve. How can it solve it? And how can you show it and quantify it?
Here we also see now organization having that one strategy, also when it comes to workforce strategy. And we have this whole area of skills and competencies, right? And I'm thinking also that now the AI will change a little bit the way we think about skills and knowledge, because up until today we've been, to a large extent, I would argue, knowledge retainers, right? We learn in school and we put all of this information that we're supposed to take out and use. And now we will get that information from somewhere else quite easily. So I think there will be also an increased demand of these skills actually that you use, that you need when you have all of this knowledge, what to do with it, creativity and strategic thinking, and these very core skill sets that we use when we tackle knowledge and when we apply things in an organizational setting.
And that's probably for another episode, but I love the idea of getting rid of 14 years of boring schools.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to invite somebody else for that. Cool. I think also for the listeners, we encourage you to then just start to try to use AI. I think there is, of course, many free solutions. You can talk to Chat GPT already. You know who to contact if you want to get leadership and a bit more advanced professional leadership coaching with AI into your workplace. You know where these two guys live then, and just start to explore. To some degree, it actually saved my life in a sense. So yeah, it's a powerful tool as well. And we will always need human beings. You just need to become a bit better. And I think that's a good place to end. And thank you guys for coming. And I really enjoyed the conversation, both being personal, but also really educating us in how AI can transform leadership in the future.
Thank you very much, Chris.
It was a pleasure.
And thank you to all you amazing listeners that every week listen to the podcast A Regenerative Future. You can always follow us for new episodes on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Please send us a message with ideas, maybe with boring schools we can get rid of, like Tom said, so we can continue to bring you value and inspiration. And until next time, go to your favorite AI and start to talk with it about your deepest, darkest secrets. And then you probably get as big of a fan as us of AI within coaching. Good luck and see you soon again.